Hello, everybody. Welcome to video 24. And this video is called The Biggest Myth About Grammar Teaching. Today, we'll be focusing on the difference, the distinction between focus on form versus focus on forms. One letter certainly changed the history of language teaching, and we'll be focusing on this today. So, to begin with, let me share with you today's competencies. Okay, so firstly, by the end of this video, you will be able to firstly explain the difference between focus on form versus focus on forms. You will be able to understand also why this distinction transformed communicative language teaching. I will be encouraging you also to design classroom activities in which you will be able to integrate grammar and communication. And finally, you will be critically evaluating your own teaching practice. So, to begin with, let's have a look at this. Let me ask you a question, okay? Imagine that you have learned every English grammar rule. You know the present perfect, you know conditionals, you know the passive voice, you know relative clauses, everything, all related to grammar teaching and grammar learning and the English language, okay? The English grammar behind English. Now, can you have a natural conversation with a native speaker? Does that guarantee that you will effectively communicate in a real context? Well, the answer is not necessarily. Okay, not necessarily. Now, imagine a learner speaks fluently, communicates easily, keeps conversation going, but says things like this. Yesterday I have go. She don't lie. She can sing, etc. Lots of fossilized errors. Is communication enough? Or does grammar still matter? For more than 50 years, language teaching has tried to answer this question, and surprisingly, the answer may lie in a single letter: the difference between focus on form versus focus on forms. Okay, so the problem here, like a pendulum, okay, for decades, as you can see there, English teachers have been trapped between two extremes, whether they should teach grammar or they should avoid teaching grammar instead. Extreme number one: teach grammar first. Practice it, memorize it, test it, hope students eventually use it. Extreme number two: forget about grammar, just communicate. Grammar will somehow appear spontaneously. Out of a sudden, you will start producing language naturally. Unfortunately, neither approach completely works. Many students know grammar, but they cannot communicate. Others communicate, but stop developing because their errors become fossilized. So, is there another alternative? Well, here is the turning point. In 1991, Michael Long introduced an idea that completely changed applied linguistics. He argued that grammar should not disappear, but neither should it dominate the lesson. Instead, grammar should appear exactly what learners need it. Later, authors Doughty and Williams in 1998 developed this idea further. And today, one small letter continues to confuse teachers all over the world. The difference between focus on form versus focus on forms. Let's explain this difference, okay? Imagine walking into two classrooms. Classroom A, the teacher explaining this. Today we will study the present perfect. Students complete gap fills, drills, transformations, control practice. Everyone finishes their worksheet. Very few students actually communicate. This is focus on forms. So remember, teaching grammar explicitly and without a clear communicative purpose and fill in the gaps. And most textbooks keep this structure. And that would be focus on forms. Notice the S. The lesson is organized around grammatical structures. Grammar is the curriculum. And you can have the students speak, but it may be the emphasis is on grammar. Now, focus on form, okay? You walk into classroom B, students are discussing their best holidays. One student says, I have went to Argentina. The teacher smiles. She writes on the board, I have gone or I've been to Argentina. Students immediately notice the difference. The conversation continues. Nobody stops communicating. Nobody, um, nobody stops communicating. Grammar appears because communication required that particular structure, that particular form. So this is focus on form. Notice no S. Meaning comes first. Grammar appears only when it becomes necessary. So now, This is the main distinction between focus on forms, in which the teacher introduces the objective by saying, today we will study the present perfect, the type of activities, okay, the structure, the basic structure. The lesson is organized around grammatical structures. Grammar is the curriculum. Classroom B, on the other hand, okay, I have went to Argentina, I have gone or I've been to. So there's a different structure, as you can see in picture number in the second photograph, okay, so the teacher smiles, she writes on the board, I have gone, students immediately notice the difference, the conversation continues, nobody stops communicating, and grammar appears because communication required it, required this form. This is focus on form, no S. Notice no S, meaning comes first, and grammar appears only when it becomes necessary. Why this matter? Why does this distinction matter? Many teachers think focus on form means don't teach grammar. That's false. Grammar is still taught, is still presented. The difference is when and why we teach it. In focus on forms, grammar determines communication. In focus on form, communication determines grammar. That changes everything. The type of lesson, the type of objective, and these are some specific classroom practices. Okay, so concrete classroom practices that you can use when it comes to focus on form. Remember the main objective is a communicative oriented objective. Share life experiences. Students interview classmates. Have you ever visited another country? Have you ever met a celebrity? Have you met a celebrity? Have you ever broken a bone? The teacher writes common errors had during the task, and the class discusses them together. Grammar becomes meaningful. Example 2, task-based learning. Students must solve a problem, negotiate, agree, disagree, persuade during interaction. And the teacher briefly draws attention to recurring language forms. And then communication continues. So perhaps the real question is not, should we teach grammar? Or, of course we should. Okay, so this is a demonized idea. Like, I never teach grammar. I shouldn't teach grammar. That's wrong. We need grammar to acquire and to develop our competences. The question is, when should grammar receive our attention in the classroom? Maybe grammar should not be the destination. Maybe it should be the support system that allows communication to become richer, more accurate, and more effective. Perhaps grammar is most powerful when learners actually need it to communicate. So remember, focus on forms, associate that with explicit grammar teaching without a clear communicative purpose, and then teaching or focus on form without the S, which has a more oriented communicative goal. This is food for thought. Can learners acquire grammar without explicit instruction? Does grammar taught in isolation transfer to spontaneous communication? Are communicative classrooms sometimes too afraid to correct learners? When does corrective feedback help learners, and when does it interrupt communication? Should grammar follow the syllabus, or should it follow learners' communicative needs? If languages cease to communicate, should communication always come first? Okay, so those are some questions for researchers, EFL teachers, and I encourage you, all EFL teachers who are watching this video, to analyze and self-evaluate how you're conducting your lessons and whether you're focusing on teaching grammar or focusing on forms, or whether you're focusing on form. So these are the APA references I've used in case you want to explore more about the contributions from the field. And if you've liked this video, I invite you to subscribe and join the upcoming sessions that will come in mid-August, September, in which we will have visitors, colleagues, professors, who are interested in some of the topics I've been developing in my videos and who are interested in sharing more views in the live sessions. I thank you so much and have a lovely day, and I look forward to seeing you and to sharing with you a new video. Bye, everyone.